Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD. Now, first story, soldiers of the 10th Mechanized Battalion in Wa have been accused of brutalizing some residents of the Upper West Regional Capital, Wa, apparently over the theft of a mobile phone. Several of the victims are reported to have sustained injuries, with two of them currently on admission at the Wa Municipal Hospital. One of the victims, 29-year-old vulcanizer Gafo Mahama, is suspected to have a fracture in his right thigh. The Public Relations Officer of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Tlete Sauni, is also another victim, and he's been speaking about the incident.
They just snubbed me and went ahead. And before I could say Jack, 5 of them were running after. They just pounced on one Kambu rider, slapping him, beating him. Then that was why I said, no, this is too much. If these people should do this, they can get away with it without any evidence. So I picked my phone and filmed what they were doing. So when I filmed it, some of them saw me filming it. So they head towards our vehicle. They were saying that you are filming us. Who is filming? Why are you filming us? And I said, oh, before the NADMO director could talk, they dragged him out of his car, collected his phones. They collected the NADMO regional director's phone and dragged him out of the car. They asked for me. When I turned to look at the other side, they held my shirt, pulled me out of the car. And when they pulled me out, they were asking me, I'm the one videoing them. Before I could realize, they kept an object, hit my head 3 times on the head, and another one hit from behind. So then they were now saying that you are videoing us. So I shouted at them. I said, do you know who I am? You don't even know me and you are beating me. Then the one of them said, who are you? So they were saying that the video I've taken, I should delete it. I should delete the video. And they should bring the phone. But then they had collected my phone. One, they collected, but one fell down on the quote, and the screen has even spot. So they collected that phone. One of them said, bring the phone so that he will delete the video. They should ensure that I delete the video out. Then I told them I won't delete the video. It's not a crime videoing you. It's not a crime video. I won't delete the video. So they were using the shockers on me. Trying to use the shocker. They were using the shockers to shock me. They shocked all over my body, but I didn't mind them. Then they took the intervention of DSP Emilia, who rushed on them and shouted at them, do you know the person you are beating? You are beating the PRO of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council. You don't even know your actions. The regional minister might have sent him to come and see what you are doing. Look at what you are doing. Then when she mentioned that they mellowed, they brought their voices down and saying, why were you videoing us? And I said, no, I wasn't only videoing you. I was even on phone call with your commander. Why are you beating people? So that was why one of them was walking away. Oh, get away. Can you even call our commander? You can't even call our commander. So stop boasting that you call our commander. So that's why they gave my phone back to me. And by then there was some blood coming out of my. So the regional NADMO director sent me to the municipal hospital so they could clean the blood from my face. So they cleaned the blood, and then I went to the regional police headquarters. When I went to the regional police headquarters, the regional commander said the military commander had instructed him to go to the scene and stop the boys. But I was even told that when the regional commander went there, they didn't even mind him. So the regional commander came back. So the regional commander said he has prepared a report and sent to the police headquarters on the incidents. And then he asked that they give me a police form to come to the hospital for medical attention. So that is why I'm here for medical attention. They've finished examining me. I just pick an X-ray, and I'm still waiting for the doctors to discharge me to go home.
Meanwhile, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Salah has disclosed that 5 top high-ranking military officers from the Military High Command will be in the region today. He said they will be visiting the leadership of the Wala community that included the overlord of the Wala traditional area to apologize to them over the incident and also to reassure them that they're going to investigate the issue and those found culpable will be severely dealt with.
The alleged assault of sea of people by some military personnel from the 10th Mechanized Battalion took place early afternoon at the Tendamba Crescent and into some parts of the Wazongu and Wa market. The soldiers, numbering over 50, are seen on a viral video whipping any motorists, commercial tricycle operators, and pedestrians. The move is said to be triggered by the theft of a mobile phone supposedly belonging to one of the military officers. The people who bear the brunt most are those who attempt to video record the inhumane and dastardly act. They are whipped with sticks and in some cases metals. Worst of it, some were beaten and pushed to the gutter. Those who took to their heels are given a hot chase and arrested.
Look like we were watching them. They thought that we were taking videos. They just came in. Even they beat one boy inside my office there. The guy didn't even do anything. They just came and said, what is the bed? The guy said, what bed? This is not a bed, like bed place. So they started slapping the guy, slapping all over the place, and they even asked the rest of them that was standing there that they should come out and lie down. Big men, they were even riding motorbike. They stopped them and said they should lie down on the floor. Stepping on others, then they even broke one guy, their hand. The guy was just walking. He went and bought food and he was coming. They stopped him. The guy said, what did I do? He didn't even know what he did.
For those they failed to arrest, any person they sighted in the vicinity are either whipped with a long stick or battered down with their boots.
We were lying down and people were beaten mercilessly. Who gave the authority to do that? We are indeed citizens of this country and we are willing to go by the laws in this country. But we can't tolerate some of these things. Enough is enough. A goat doesn't bite, but when it goes down to the root, a goat do the biting.
29-year-old vulcanizer Gafur Mahama heard loud noise outside the soccer bed center on the Tindamba Crescent, and in his attempt to peep to see what was happening and carry the wrath of the soldiers. He is now hospitalized, suspected to have now developed a fractured thigh. Another, who was also a victim of the military brutality, is Clotis Awuni, public relations officer of the Upper House Regional Coordinating Council.
So when I filmed it, some of them saw me filming it. So they head towards our vehicle. They were saying that you are filming us. Who is filming? Why are you filming us? And I said, oh, before the NADMO director could talk, they dragged him out of his car.
Away from that, former Auditor General Daniel de Monneval has revealed some employees of the audit service who helped him to raise issues of financial impropriety in the Kroll case against the former senior minister Yao Safumafo have been demoted, with one of them transferred to the central region.
My heart bleeds and I weep for audit service. Since the day that the president forced me on leave and finally said I should go on compulsory retirement, I must say that all the people who were associated or identified to have a role to play in the audit of the Ministry of Finance, which resulted in the senior minister's issue or that of Crow and Associates, have all had their share. The Deputy Auditor General, who was in charge of central government audit, which is the ministry's audit, is today sent to Ministry of Finance as a director. More or less, he has been brought 2 steps lower to go and report to the directors or the chief directors and the minister who his audit had problem with. The Assistant Auditor General who led the audit has been transferred into the regions. In fact, even the lawyer who led the case in court, the Director of Legal Service, has been transferred as we speak to Cape Coast. He is now a district director in Cape Coast. The idea, the argument is that he applied to audit service and started as an auditor before becoming a lawyer. So he should go back and do audit instead of being a lawyer. But a system, what type of system is this?
The National Democratic Congress is demanding immediate dismissal of the Ijura Municipal Chief Executive from office. They accuse Salisu Bamba of being behind the deployment of military officers to the scene of the protest in Ijura, where 2 people were shot to death. Now, the NDC's communications director also wants the municipal police commander indicted, prosecuted and punished in accordance with the law. Sami Jemfi claims the military officers who shot the 2 residents aren't the regular officers they know, so the MCE and the police commander, DSP Philip Hammond, must face the law.
As a political party, we are completely appalled and disgusted at what happened in the draft few days ago. The
state-sponsored killing of innocent young men of this town by the military is not only reprehensible and condemnable, but it is barbaric, it is evil, and it is an issue that has totally eroded the confidence that many citizens have in our security agencies. We condemn it in no uncertain terms, and we are here demanding for justice.
That's right.
Justice to appease the souls of those who have been murdered and their families.
That's right.
Justice to appease the souls and the families of those who have been injured.
Yes.
And we are demanding that first and foremost, those who murdered Ibrahim Mohammed, aka Kaka, are immediately put before a court of competent jurisdiction, prosecuted, convicted, and punished in accordance with law. And so we are saying that apart from dealing with the killers, the municipal chief executive whose bodyguards committed that murder, and the municipal chief executive who is the same person who deployed the military to attack young peaceful protesters, military men who squatted, aimed, and shot at unarmed, harmless, retreating protesters. That municipal chief executive officer cannot continue to be in office. And it is important that with immediate effect, he is dismissed from office, arrested, and prosecuted.
Yes.
Aside that, the police commander for Edra, the military commander who was responsible for the mindless deployment that caused the death of Nasiru and Mohammed Mutala, must be immediately interdicted, prosecuted, and punished in accordance with law.
Right.
People cannot hide behind the uniforms they are wearing to commit crimes and get away with that.
No.
And per information we are gathering on the ground, we understand that the military officers who shot into the crowd and killed Mutala and Abdul Nasiru were not the regular military officers we know.
No.
These are bearded, earring military officers who we believe are vigilante elements of the new patriotic party who have been integrated into the military force. They are the same people who committed atrocities we all saw during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections.
Away from that, Vice President Dr. Bawumia is asking mining communities to develop the locality they mine in. He says the sharp contrast between where the miners live and the surrounding areas is a source of worry to government. He wants industry giants to seriously consider an agenda to ensure locals enjoy from the natural resources in their areas. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at the launch of the Ghana Mining Week 2021 in Takoradi in the Western region.
Ghana Mining Week was preceded by a Gold Expo in 2020 to advance policies ensuring that the small-scale mining sector operated within laws and procedures that sustain the environment and promoted responsive mining. Dr. Bawumia says community mining was key to solving issues affecting the small-scale mining sector, which poses greater risk to the environment and the people involved.
It is well known that the rise in illegal mining, no doubt being fueled by unemployment, but also by the desire of the average community members to have a feel of the minerals. In this regard, government is putting in a lot of measures to stimulate job creation in an integrated and inclusive manner throughout the entire gold mining value chain. And it is in this context that the President launched the community mining scheme,
that will bring the small-scale miners who would have otherwise been on galamsey activities within a formalized and regulated.
Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, added to the call for all industry players to work together in developing the gold value chain. He says government, with partners, hope to build a robust industry through viable and prudent policies.
While the industry contributes significantly to our economy, we know that we are not reaping the full advantage of these resources due to our continuous exportation of unrefined gold. After centuries of producing gold, we cannot continue to export raw gold. We need a paradigm shift, and the time to do so is now. However, Mr. Vice President, I wish to submit that if we all work in honesty and good faith, we can and should be able to overcome all of these challenges.
Western Regional Minister Kobina Ochredako-Mensah in his address says the 2020 Gold Expo has resulted in the introduction of a mini equipment to control mercury and cyanide to increase gold recovery to about 90%.
The Ghana Gold Expo provided insights into the newest innovative technologies and equipment that are revolutionizing small-scale mining operations by increasing gold recovery up to over 90%, and expose participants to best practices adopted by large-scale mining companies, especially in conservation and reclamation. In sum, the overall objective of the Ghana Expo 2020 was to promote zero mercury in gold extraction and to ensure responsible gold mining practices among all industrial players.
For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanzaa, Western Region.
And for the AM News, I am Apito CBD. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy the rest of your show.
Oh, Charlie, girls are bread.
I just stopped short of saying you look beaten this morning.
Girls are
it's wow.
So I like the sound. I like the sound. It's so peaceful.
Yeah. And for those of you who have, it's been so seamless that you've not noticed, apart from TV, when she's done, she's been, doing stuff on radio. So I'm sure you've been hearing the voice and wondering, where did they go? I can understand. But here we are, another morning, a different batch of papers to look at and lots of issues to explore, actually, especially in respect of the security situation. Absolutely. I was just on the back of yesterday's happenings in Wa. I was just, getting some information from Rafiq Salam, our upper correspondent, and some of what he's been sharing. There's a lot of, work to be done indeed. But that is why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
And continue the work, we shall.
But I have to ask you, though, Ajinkotoku, we're all super excited that the Greater Accra Regional Minister is doing a fantastic job relocating onion sellers. There was the cattle, that issue that is outstanding. Because yesterday you said they were not in Ajinkotoku yet, as at the time that you were reporting. But what place is this? Is it just shirts, or they actually have homes as well? Do they have places where they can sleep in Ajinkotoku?
No. That's not the provision. I know, because I can get why you're asking, because in Agbogboloshi there were even people with, makeshift areas around. Some are said to have even had places where they could rest, if you like, there. And sometimes they would actually spend the night there rather than, go home. These were places where they sold. But for some people, they had places that they could do different things. They had a mosque available. They had toilet facilities available to them, and myriad, other things. Some of these people who sell, it would interest you to know, people who had been there for a long time, selling mobile phones, selling water, selling this or that, tea. These people have followed them there because they feel this is the community we have been with.
So they're all in Ajinkotoku.
Yes,
still going
those
to
who were
serve
selling, even the wache sellers, noodles and what, they followed them there. So that is why some of them, the day I went to Agbogboloshi, were saying that provision should have been made for us too, because we are like a community. Okay. You get it.
Okay, so...
But with the cattle rearers, just to add that bit, they hadn't moved as of yesterday when we went there, but their leader, Mohammed, sent me photos, at least for his kraal. They had moved. He sent me photos. And you know what they had to do? Deep into the night, they had to get some of the cattle out. I don't know whether they've moved them to Ajinkotoku, because what he made mention of was that he, for example, has 80 fattened cows. And with the fattened cows, they are very feeble. When you fatten them, they become feeble. They can't do a lot of vigorous work. And conveying them from a place like Agboboloshi to Ajinkotoku, which is at least an hour's drive, more or less, would be too much stress for them. And they were just pleading that they could be there till maybe the 20th when we have the Eid.
Didn't they get some of the funding? Because we know that...
well, you know, the money has not been doled out.
Oh, it hasn't. Because they were given some monies so that it could help them transport their goods to Ajinkotoku.
So as of then, which is 2 days ago, they hadn't received physical cash, though they knew that there, you know, other people, the committee was meeting to ensure that each person, even the onion sellers 2 days ago, had not got any cash when I spoke to one Nuhu. But they knew that, yes, about 1,000 of them, was it 300,000 had been given, and that they were going to get eventually their share, between 2,000 and 3,000 Ghana cedis. But they hadn't got it yet. I don't know as of yesterday, because if you listen to the regional minister, he said the scrap dealers had been given, you know, these people had been given money. So whether it's actually reached them, that I cannot confirm as of now.
Well, and this is coming up because, I mean, it's the papers are also telling the story of the relocation, which is such a big deal because it's been 16 years. And as we congratulate the Greater Accra Regional Minister for leading this process, we also want to ensure that where we are taking them, we're not just dumping them there and leaving them. That's why I was asking all the backstory in terms of the provision made for them, apart from the shirts. Some also even complain that they don't have enough. As you were talking to them. But I guess all will come together.
Right.
Because we have a package from you. So we will see the situation as it exists in Ajinkotoku, where these persons have been taken to.
But I can give you a brief answer on the sheds. They say they simply don't suffice. You know, there's over 1,000 onion sellers, their wares and everything, the products they sell. And when you look at the space, of course, if you compare the space there that has been allotted to them to what they had in Agboboloshi, well, there might be some...
Much more decent?
More decent, obviously. Ajinkotoku, more decent. But in terms of space, that is the problem. Part of the land they claim is waterlogged, and that is not good for onions.
Ajinkotoku.
In Ajinkotoku.
Oh, okay.
They are saying some part has not been cleared yet. They don't have the toilet facilities. So now that they are moving there, if you needed to attend to nature's call, you'd face so many difficulties. They are talking about the absence of financial institutions because now, you know, they get quite a lot of money, actually. A lot of people aren't aware. They get quite a lot of money doing business with onions. And so a lot of cash goes through the system. And if they are not careful, that could mean they could become the targets of robbers and all of that. They are asking for night patrols. So
that's why
it's a whole hodgepodge of matters.
Strongly yesterday, because if you're in Ajinkotoku and seriously you want to transact business, banking business, you have to either go to Insawam or you have to come to Amasaman. And that traffic on that stretch is another situation altogether. So it's not easy moving around. I'm very familiar with that. That's my territory.
They even talk about the fire service, that should anything happen, they want some proximity so that...
It's either in Sawam or Amasaman.
That's the reality.
All right, I've got the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Daily Guide, the Daily Dispatch, Daily Searchlights, and Ghanaian Publisher. Those are the papers that I'll be looking at.
I'll be looking at the Daily Graphic, Republic, Press, then there's the Herald, the Finder, the Daily Statesman, and the Custodian newspaper. Those are the papers I'll be looking at.
All right, so this issue that we've been talking about is on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Agboboloshi market goes down at last, but not before fierce armed resistance from scrap dealers and others. Three-member committee inaugurated to investigate Ejira route killings. Still on Ejira, one more suspect in police grip. Odo, Kole Lagoon, and Nago massive dredging to avert floods. Like, we're tired of this whole reactive kind of, you know, why can't we do it even before the rains come? And It's not funny. It isn't. When it is raining, we are dredging. In the center spread, Vice President calls for responsible mining, and then details of 2 front-page headline stories there. On page 3, court discharges 11 suspected secessionists. It says 11 persons charged with treason, felony, and conspiracy to commit crime in the Western Togoland case were yesterday discharged by the Kaneshie District Court in Accra. The accused were discharged by Mrs. Rosemond Duodiajiri, the presiding magistrate, based on the advice of the Attorney General, appearing before Mrs. Ejiri, the prosecutor. Detective Inspector Richard Amoa said the AG gave the advice because of lack of sufficient evidence against the accused. See, they were paraded in with all the pomp and pageantry, if you like, and now 11 of them, they say they don't have any strong case against them, so they've been discharged. So you've got to be careful when you point accusing fingers at persons.
Are we ever careful?
Just because they are suspects, it doesn't mean that they're guilty of any charge. So there you go.
It's innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely.
In other jurisdictions, it is guilty until proven innocent. In our jurisdiction, it is different.
Yeah.
Yet we act as though it were the opposite we had here.
Absolutely. Okay, so the one more person who's been grabbed in connection with the Ejira murder case, it says the police on Wednesday arrested another suspect. And, okay, what's his name? It didn't give, okay, Idi Mohammed is his name, 38. He's the suspect. He's said to be a younger brother of the deceased, and this brings to 3 the number of people grabbed following the murder. And then Cocoa Board, 271 million Ghana cedis financial loss case. Dr. Opuni's petition dismissed. So he's tried twice already to get the judge, sitting on the case to recuse himself, get him off, get a new judge. And finally, he petitioned the Chief Justice. But that also, according to what was read in courts, did not.
It didn't fly.
Did not give in, exactly.
The Daily Guide has a nice, it says bounces.
So this was portions of the response that was read in courts on Thursday. It said, your petition in respect of the above subject matter has been considered after serious thought. I have noticed from the petition that the learned judge has not made any prejudicial statement to infer that there is real likelihood of bias against you as an accused person in the case in which you are yet to open your defense. In view of the fact that no serious allegation of likelihood of bias has been established, I will decline the invitation to transfer the case to another judge. But it says this does not preclude you in the exercise of your constitutional right to report the process for the transfer you are respectfully requesting for. So for the 3rd time, Dr. Opuni has not succeeded in getting the judge sitting on his case, who's Justice Honyanuga. He's a Supreme Court judge, Clement Honyanuga, who is sitting with additional responsibility. So that's where we are with the case. So he's going to open his defense. I think the matter was adjourned to 15th of July. Absolutely, 15th of July. The case will continue. Let's see, back page of the Ghanaian Times. Over 1,000 SMEs apply for new stimulus packages. Enforce laws on to ban sale of alternative breastfeeding product. UNICEF country representative Annie Claire Dufay has called for strict enforcement of national legislation to bar the sale of alternative breastfeeding products if Ghana was to secure lifelong nutrition and health outcomes. Details of that on the back page as she poses with the First Lady at an event where she made, these comments. So details of that on the back page of the Ghanaian Times, Ben.
Well, let's check out some details from the Daily Graphic now. And it's all about making Accra work. Massive cleanup at Agbobloshi. Onion sellers moved to Ajinkotoku. We'll be bringing you more details of that. But the paper captures the week-long massive cleanup exercise, which commenced at the Onion Market and Scrapyard area at the Agbobloshi Market. We also saw some of those interactions yesterday as the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council with the task force, joint task force, I should say, stepped up to, do some mop-up work on the area. 5 grabbed with fake currencies at Dansoman. Appoint information officers to facilitate RTI law, and there's 55,000 students to be offered scholarships. When you go to the international pages, 5 and 9, a few that I'll highlight. The African Union Special Envoy tasked with leading efforts to procure COVID-19 vaccines for the continent is blasting Europe as Africa struggles amid a crushing third surge of infections, saying that not one dose, and I'm quoting him here, not one vial has left a European factory for Africa. That's Strive Masiyiwa, who also took aim at the global effort meant to distribute vaccines to low and middle income countries, accusing COVAX of withholding crucial information, including that key donors hadn't met funding pledges. He didn't name which donors. However, there are more stories there. Former Liberian militia leader convicted in Switzerland. And when you go to page 9, that other story there, EU's digital COVID-19 certificate comes into effect. And basically what it means is a European Union-wide COVID-19 certificate came into force yesterday as the EU aimed to kickstart the summer tourism season by streamlining border crossings. The certificate is essentially a QR code either on a smartphone or paper, which validates whether a traveler has been vaccinated, has recovered from a COVID-19 infection, or has a recent negative test for COVID-19. Finally, according to the EU, the certificate holder should, in principle, be exempted from free movement restrictions, and EU member states should refrain from imposing additional travel restrictions on holders unless they are necessary and proportionate to safeguard public health. So,
and this excludes us, those of us who took the AstraZeneca from the Indian Serum Institutes.
Astrawati. For shaking reasons.
Yeah.
When you go to the middle spread.
So wait, Kovas, Yenkaho. Okay.
Oh, but we are a part of it. We've benefited from.
No, we did, but I'm talking about this certification. It doesn't recognize us.
Oh, right now you see.
So if you have to travel to any EU country, you will be quarantined. You have to go through the process.
Are you a member of the EU? Are you a member of the EU?
Now I'm just saying that as a fully vaccinated human being from a
I like the way you put it, human being.
Country, I should not be excluded because EU does not recognize the vaccine that
Here's what, if you had your shots from there, maybe, but right now, dear, I wasn't there. 2 shots of waiting.
we need to fight it. We need to fight it because some of us have taken the full.
No, but I concur. And these are some issues that I feel are governments, because it can only be fought on those levels. As individuals, we can't really. Sometimes you can take the matters up, but you're going against, these blocks and stuff. It's a futile attempt.
We won't even go to their country.
Okay. Yeah, but so when you go to the middle spread of the paper, 55,000 students to be offered scholarships. That story is there, and that's what the Scholarship Secretariat is saying, offering scholarships to 55,000 students who applied to the Secretariat to enable them pursue post-secondary education in the 2021-2022 academic year. I have some fond memories of the Scholarship Secretariat and others not so fond, and I know people, sometimes I hear the politics is deeper than it runs deeper than any other interest. So you can see a student, and I always cite this example, a student who had close to 4.0, who wanted to go and study abroad, and 4.0 is like the pinnacle of whatever you can do in our university system, still didn't get it, likely because of the person's last name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And people with far less, of course, there are different things, there's a pot of issues to look at, but there are so many things that happen. Well,
I would think that it's not just the grade they look at.
No, that's why I'm saying there's a pot of issues they look at. But especially when certain things happen, and even a worker there, someone at the very top tells you, Masa, this thing, this and that, and you're wasting your time. Unless you go through this or that person and do this and that, then obviously, there's a whole lot to talk about. That's it for the Daily Graphic.
All right, let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. On the front page, another judgment debts hits Ghana, and they say she has to pay, but it's actually us. $70 million. This is the West African Gas project, the West Africa Gas Limited, after a ruling by the London Court of Arbitration. That's where, the story that we've been hit with another huge judgment debt is coming from, that the country is set to pay over $70 million to the West Africa Gas Limited. The dispute came after the termination of the claimant, West Africa Gas Limited, of a gas sales agreement dated 9th of October 2015 between the company and the Republic of Ghana. And according to documents and details of the story here, it says that the company decided to terminate the contracts after they claim there were impediments put in their way by the government of Ghana, which made it difficult for them to execute the contracts. And so they initially sought, I think, a million? 9 zeros is what, Ben? 9 zeros.
Yes. So 6 would be what? 600,000?
Okay, but that's that much really. But it was reduced, and that's why it's, I'm not sure if it's 70 million exactly or a little over 70 million, but details of that.
But I think it's 70 million that has been mentioned there. So.
No, they were just making the point that what they sought to recover as recovery fee initially was way more than the 70. Okay, all right. I think that's the story that I'll be highlighting in the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The other we are very familiar with in terms of the dredging.
Let's check Republic Press now. People are running from us, PHS field officers lament. You can check out that story on page 4 of the newspaper. I'm talking about field officers of the Population and Housing Census. And yesterday, unfortunately, we heard that story of about 2 of them involved in an accident, one perishing and the other one being in some critical condition. NDC sheds crocodile tears for Kaka. And there's been talk too that supposedly this gentleman was an aficionado, if you like, or a fan of the reigning administration, the ruling administration. And so it could not have been that this person had been planted. No toilet facility at Ajinkotoku Onion Market, like I was stressing from my interactions with them yesterday. But soldiers go bonkers in Wa, brutalized residents over missing phone. You've seen the video, haven't you?
I have. You drew attention to the story, and I didn't want to believe it, honestly.
No, when I saw it the first time, I was looking at the video like, nah, this must be some other country or someone is trying to pull. Then I paid attention because I was looking for even, zooming, trying to check out car license plates and all of that and the attire. And I realized, well, this actually looks like Ghana. I was stunned. I didn't believe it. I honestly didn't. And when I spoke to some security experts and the rest, they actually, confirmed that they had seen it, the footage. We spoke to our correspondent and all of that. So, But how are officers getting this temerity? Look at that. Even when the military has been, so to speak, in control in certain countries, do you see
the gutter?
Yes, they put them there, and the guy is battering them there. Don't you see how they are cowering? They are cowering. I mean, what has got into the minds of people? What is it? These officers, I don't get it. From shooting people, we saw that soldier aiming in Ejura, to this. So I agree, they are going bonkers. But that's an issue we shall get into. But if you've seen the footage, the Public Relations Officer of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Cletus Awuli, was also beaten by the officers.
If we were under military rule, like this would be no news.
You see, that's why I was pointing to the fact that even when the military has been in control, sometimes you wouldn't see these things. But if it were to happen, you would assume that, it's because it's a military regime in place. But we're under a civilian democratic dispensation, and this is happening. And you see, if you don't speak about it, it's like seeing someone's beard on fire and saying, oh, it's not my beard. Someday it will come to you, unfortunately.
I just get too disappointed, because even when you talk about it, what happens? We will get some PR statement that would say we're investigating, but that'll be it.
I guess we'll get another committee, won't we?
So the only thing that citizens can do, and I like the fact that people are making use of their phones. Because if nobody had recorded this, what we are seeing, with whatever instruments, it would just be the citizens telling us their side.
It's your word against theirs.
Absolutely,
and your word
won't believe you.
Never comes.
I say all the time, go to the motor courts. Let police arrest you and say you crossed the red light, and go to courts and try to defend it. Tell the judge that you didn't. It's the police against you. I mean, they police traffic.
Let me tell you something interesting. 2 days ago, in our vehicle, when we were going to Agbogloshi, right at that traffic light before you turn through, we went through a green light. But you see, the place was jam-packed. So the vehicles had to wait a bit. But we had already crossed. It was green, right? So we're in the queue with the other vehicles. When we got there, an MTTD officer stopped us and said we had gone through the red.
Achoo.
And I was just watching him. The driver, told him, no, we didn't go through. This man was insisting until he realized, oh, supposedly it is the media
people.
And all of that. But we made it clear to him, and I bet you we went through green. I saw it for myself. So sometimes when they say, and when they do that, I'll say, watch out, there's nothing you can do.
So who said to them that they can do this?
Oh,
no.
Punish
people.
Let me tell you this. You're saying who said to them they could do this?
Yeah.
Supposedly, it was a soldier who had lost his phone, and they assumed that it was, a Pragia, one of these Pragia people who had taken the phone away from him. He was robbed. And then the next day, they come and order. That's why you see a lot of the Pragias, so to speak. Those, I've forgotten the name for those, taxi cabs, the tricycles. And they were assaulting them, including other people, including this regional coordinating council.
And I understand that even those who try to record the incident on phone, they would grab you and punish you as well.
So this person, you can see, the person is on higher ground.
Exactly.
And the person is secretly filming.
So this is a 2021 kind of incident. This is...
But why are you surprised? You sound so... And you were asking me what gives them the temerity. Aren't you seeing all the things going on?
This is barbaric. This is not even like...
Are you not seeing what is going on? Of course, when you... And me, my fear, and I've said it. When you arm the police, the military and the police in this way, especially with the military, we respect our soldiers. We doff our hats to them.
What are they even doing in the street like that?
But when you give them this kind of temerity, we have a checkered history, political history in this country. When it comes to the military taking over, we just have to go back to what? How many months ago? The 24th of February, 1966. That is how it started.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying that, and I'm not wishing any evil upon this country, but I'm saying that
this is a shame, actually.
Over time, even our constitutions, we've put certain things in there to prevent the military wading into certain things. When we do this, we give them unbridled, unfettered confidence to assault people. And before you realize it,
and they were looking
God
for
forbid.
a phone? Don't they have a rule, really? Ideally, you shouldn't see military officers on the street like this. You know that they can't even when there is traffic, if you want to go strictly according to their own rules and regulations, you shouldn't find a military officer in uniform directing traffic.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have anything to do with us, the civilians.
Our MPs, for example, over time, and I'm not talking about members of parliament, I'm talking about the military police. You would see them, way back in the
so that's why they
and in
are
certain
military
designated
police.
areas.
Exactly. But they shouldn't mingle with us. I think that's why there were a lot of issues when there was Operation Vanguard, when there are night patrols and you have military and police doing the work together. But you see, the other thing is, so when military is beating you, who do you report to? Police?
No, sometimes the military gets on the case of the police. So whom are you going to report to? That's a good question. And with this PRO, he says they hit my head about 3 times and my back because they used the taser on my hands and my chest. You're going round using tasers on people, supposedly.
Isn't right. This isn't.
But I don't know how you would take this. I know I am staying on the story, but soldiers' job is not to disperse crowd. They are paid to shoot to death. My own friend, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah.
Yeah, well, so that's why they shouldn't be here. That's why they shouldn't be here.
Oh,
because their training is not to negotiate with you, the civilian. you know.
Anyway, so it is what it is.
Charlie, maybe there's nothing more that I can review. I mean, what's on the screen is.
I mean, I've been
more important
reflecting.
than any other story that I will share with you in any of the other papers.
I've been reflecting and speaking to some of these security analysts about how we can calm tensions and how we can, you know, prevent these officials, people who have the use of force, who can use force.
So this is coming
I don't know.
after there is a probe in Nigeria where we saw military men shooting, right? And then they go about and they do this. What kind of confidence do you have in the exercise that is yet to be carried out? I mean, when this is still flying in your face. And this is only what has been shot on camera.
Yes.
I bet there are many incidents
who knows what happened
records
before even. And look at them, cowering citizens, ordinary citizens, cowering in that gutter for fear. They can't do anything. The dignity, how can you do this to a human being? Just because someone has stolen a phone? Is it all of them who stole the phone?
No, but even if
they found the person who did that,
you have no right to do this to anybody. You go through the process. There has to be investigations. Somebody must be found to have committed the crime of stealing.
I guess these officers are primus inter pares, first among equals, and they are sacred cows. And believe you me, like some people have suggested, nothing will happen. We will not identify these military officers, and not one will get punished. Well, that's what we've seen. But I'll wrap up with this tied to it. Stop using military for internal security. That's the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative to our government. And so on the back of that, we're going to have a lot of discourse, basically, this morning on this and surrounding matters. But I wouldn't want that to happen to me, for my dignity to be stripped off of me like that. And that is why I would not stand for it to be done to someone else. And yes, that's not the way it is.
All right, so you can go to myjoyonline.com. We have plenty of stories there that you can explore. It's the build-up to the quarterfinals, right, of the Euro 2020. But that's what's on myjoyonline.com. Please calm down. The military personnel assaulting residents of Wa is our top headline. Over missing phone.
I mean, like,
headline on myjoyonline.com. Like, absolute shame. Like, shame on them. Shame on these men who, I mean, in every sense, you're stronger than any ordinary person that you see on the streets, any day, any time. And to think that we clothe you, we bought the guns for you to protect us as a nation, and then you turn it on us to do this. Yeah. It's such a big shame.
They pay you with our tax money.
Such a big shame. Incredible.
I am upset this morning.
So they're on war with us.
Anyway.
Because somebody stole somebody's phone or somebody's phone got missing. All right.
I mean, what nonsense. on a more serious note.
We'll leave it here and continue with sports. We'll come back and talk about the security matters. This one is just too upsetting. So we'll make way for Muftau. The football is going to cool us down. We're going to talk about the Euro 2020. And we're looking at the downfall of Kumasi Ajinkotoku.
Anyway. So Fabu, we never say that. We are the real never say die people.
Let me say phobia. Say your Fabu, let me see.
Fabu.
Stay with us. Muftau is up next.
Welcome everybody, I am Muftau Nabila Abda. Let's settle for the detail of stories where Bawumia wants Accra House of Oak to drop points so that his favorite club, Ajinkotoku, will pick maximum points in their next game against King Faisal so that they will stand a chance of winning the Ghana Premier League title for the first time in 7 years. He was speaking to my colleague, Housemate.
I think this is one of the best leagues I've watched, not even when I was playing. I've watched maybe since the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. And it's really exciting to see the big giants like going for it.
I can imagine. I mean, as we speak right now, at the time of airing the interview, Heart of Oak have just beaten Ajinkotoku in the Super Clash to go ahead in the title race. Did you watch the match?
I watched it, and unfortunately my team lost, but I think we are still in contention. We have 4 games, more or less, to go, so a little slip from House of Oak, and then we are back on top again.
How do you feel watching them? I mean, how far they've come and everything?
When I watched the game over the weekend, it was really great because I saw a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, and the guys really tried to go for it. And I think House of Oak really started with a bit of urgency, and I think it helped them throughout the game. So it's really great to see the Ghana Premier League like progressing in such way.
Now, your team as Ajinkotoku have a fight on their hands. If you've got a message for them, what would it be?
Like over the years, they've been champions quite some time now, and for a true champion, you just need to keep fighting to the last point. So I think it's going to be like a good fight for them, and also a motivation for them. And let's hope that has take a slip.
And this weekend, House of Oak, they will play in Ebusua Dwarfs. Ajinkotoku will be coming up against King Faisal. These are the full fixtures for match day 32 in the Ghana Premier League. Ajinkotoku versus King Faisal on Saturday. Legon Cities versus Bechim United also on Saturday. And then on Sunday, there's Dreams FC versus Brekum Chelsea, Great Olympics versus 11 Wonders, Wafa v Inter Allies, Ebusua Dwarfs versus House of Oak. Midiama SC will also come up against Elmina Sharks. Liberty Professionals, they will play Carolina United, and Ediana FC, they will also be coming up against Ashanti Go. For Carolina United, they've asked their coach to step aside following a bad run of results. It means that their assistant coach will step in to lead the club in this fixture against Liberty Professionals. Liberty Professionals are currently within the touching distance of relegation, and what it means is that they must pick maximum points if they want to survive. Inter Allies is already relegated. Elmina Sharks and 11 Wonders are all in contention to be relegated from the Ghana Premier League 2020-2021 season. Now let's do boxing, where Manley Spain and Abraham Nikwe, who is the current second vice president of the Ghana Boxing Authority, have picked nomination forms to contest for the position of president to replace substantive president in the person of Peter JoyNews. Secretary General of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Patrick Johnson, was speaking to my colleague Nathaniel Atto on Sports Today yesterday.
First and foremost, for the president position is Henry Manley Spain and Abraham Nikwe. They have, requested for the president position, and they are the only two who have vied for that position. And concerning the first vice, we have unopposed, that is Rabondodu. For the second vice, we have Roger Bano, is unopposed. The treasurer is Lord Pakpo Akwe, is also unopposed. And the executive position is for 5 people. It's supposed to be 4, but 5 people have vied for that position. They are Alhaji Tofik Muritara, Lawrence Kaloko, Shadrack Akwe, Michael Nikwe, and Johnny Gordon. They are the 5 people who have vied for the executive position. So the competition is between the president position and then the executive position.
Tell me about preparations for the Congress proper.
We've already booked for the Mudo Conference Center in the Bukom Boxing Arena. That will be the 22nd. On the 8th of July, we are going to have a vetting to all the candidates. And then on the 15th is going to be balloting for position. So, which means the president position and then the executive positions are going to be vetted, and then we know the outcome of whatever. We have the committee. The committee for the vetting committee comprises of retired General Brigadier I.B. Korte, lawyer Felix Korte, myself, Patrick Johnson, and then Chris Abiu, former news writer. And yes, I think they are the people who have been selected for the vetting committee. Yes, and Atedi Papo as well.
Well, the situation continues when it comes to security, and we're discoursing on it from the Ejura riots to what happened yesterday in the Upper West region, Wa to be specific. We discourse with Martin Kwebu, a lawyer who will be giving us the legal outlook when it comes to what has been happening. And then we also have joining the conversation Emmanuel Bombandi, a security analyst. Later on the show, we'll also be joined by Professor Kwesi Enning, also a security analyst, and of course with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the conversation on the AM show.
You're welcome. Hello. Good morning to your viewers.
Great. Thank you for connecting. So far, let's start from here, especially on the back of what has happened in Ejura. We have the response currently when it comes to the 3-member committee that has been set up to investigate the issue. Some have called for a commission of inquiry, which would raise it from a ministerial to a presidential level. Starting with you, Mr. Bombandi, what is your quick reaction to that? Apt?
Well, I think what is important at the end of the day is to have value for a process that can be comprehensive enough, but at the same time, see the type of recommendations to be implemented because there is a political will to implement them. Rather than debate, of course, everybody appreciates that a commission would be a much higher and elevated search for the type of recommendations that can be more comprehensive. But even if in the circumstances the commission is not what is in place, but rather an inquiry, what Ghanaians should be interested in at the end of the day is, can it bring the type of reform that can improve upon the situation of how the police, and when the police are joined by the military, any joint effort then can respect the rule of law, can respect the dignity of the human person, can provide a type of security that is democratic, but more importantly, if there are key recommendations to be implemented, that it is not just put on the shelf, but that it is truly implemented for Ghanaians to begin to have a sense of confidence that learning out of the challenges that occur, something would happen differently. And I would want to make the comment later on about process. For me is more important than simply looking at the incident itself and trying to understand what happened with the incident, because that will not be sufficient. I'm more interested in what kind of process the inquiry will take to be able to unearth and be more comprehensive in dealing with this menace.
Now, my follow-up question on that would have to do with how much trust you have in the process. Some have said that, well, a committee being set up will not amount to much. Even we saw what happened with the Emil Short Commission on the back of happenings in Ayawaso, West Wuogon, and the government's own subsequent white paper. So some have said that if a presidential commission came out with that and that practically amounted to nothing, what would a committee, a ministerial committee, yield? Do you feel this committee is going to be effective, so to speak?
Well, I guess the decision makers and the committee itself will be guided by the observation you just made. And let me put it this way. I postulate that if the Fix My Country youth campaign group had gone ahead with the police understanding exactly that protests are permissible in democratic societies and that they were allowed to protest, that would have let out the type of pressure that has been building, and we probably would not have had a jura. And that's what I mean by trying to be comprehensive, trying to understand that when you prevent something from happening because you are suppressing young people from expressing themselves, what then begins to happen is you see a build-up. And that build-up is like a pressure cooker in which there has to be a vent to let out the pressure. And to that extent, therefore, Mohammed Kaka, in continuing his activism, might not have arrived at the stage in which the circumstances in which he was killed could have happened, let alone now for the security response to have killed 2 more people. And that is why everything that happens in a democratic society is for a good reason. The reason why protests and demonstrations are part of democratic culture is to allow a peaceful venting and letting out of frustrations that now makes it possible to continue to channel any anger that might have built up to the point that society continues to manage itself. Now, the alternative is what the police hierarchy have been doing. But each time they prevented the demonstration, the meaningfulness of their argument fell flat when the young people saw that other gatherings, whether they were in funerals, whether they were in parties, were occurring. So it made meaningless the police argument that the fixed mercantile demonstrations could not go on. And so the committee has to look comprehensively at the circumstances that led to a jura and not just the incident itself. And to now be able to properly advise, especially that it's under the Ministry of the Interior, for the police to go back and learn the lessons of how they are a police of a democratic Republic of Ghana.
Right.
And not a police that simply makes decisions to be able to get their way out, when at the end of the day, they end up creating more challenges for themselves.
Okay, let me come briefly to Martin Kwebu. And I know you're raring to go, Mr. Kwebu, on the WA situation. We'll be getting to that shortly. But on ADRA, briefly, 2 quick questions. How apt is the setting up of a committee to probe this matter? And secondly, the legal dimensions to it. Officers every now and then, you know, getting involved in some skirmishes with, maybe in this instance, irate youth. And the fact that we lost Kaka and now 2 others on the back of that incident. What is your reaction?
Yeah, so the reaction first. My reaction is that we've not learned from our past. I mean, in terms of past incidents of police violence against unarmed citizens. It's such a shame that we sat down and allowed this incident to happen again. Look, from the Acha report, okay, in the 90s, to the Okujeto Stadium disaster report, it's been consistently noted that our police and other, so those who are specifically on the police, are not good at crowd control. So I can't understand how we allowed this thing to happen again. Because if you read those reports, they've consistently said that the police should be trained in crowd control. This small crowd, we allowed this thing to happen. It means that we are not learning, and that's a shame. Okay, it's a shame on the police service that they allowed this small crowd, they couldn't control, and they had to bring in military to shoot, okay, just anyhow, resulting in the deaths of those 2 people. And that's a big indictment on the police service. What are they doing with those reports? The Acha report, the Okujeto Stadium disaster report. The Okujeto Stadium disaster report. Remember the May 9th incident, okay? Yes, so it's such a sad situation that we are not learning. We are supposed to be developing day in, day out. We are supposed to improve ourselves. But it appears Ghana Police Service is not willing to when it comes to crowd control. Okay, a problem we identified over 20 years ago we don't seem to be taking any steps to solve that problem. I mean, it breaks my heart that this is the state of affairs. Okay, so now, I think your question was in two parts, the reaction, and then can you remind me the second part?
So the legal dimensions to look at, beyond the committee that has been set up, getting, justice for those whose lives have been lost. What are the legal, consequences or the legal ramifications to consider?
But if I may, good morning, Mr. Martin Pebu and Mr. Bombandi. My name is Mama Viosobo. You're doing this with Benjamin Akapo. Mr. Pebu, there have been concerns raised, particularly by the minority in Parliament, about the limitations that a ministerial committee, such as the one that has been outdoor, will have. So, for instance, are they going to force people to give them accounts of what happened? When they are asking people to give them documents, what do you see can happen with this committee that may not make its work successful?
Yes, Mama, I don't see so far anything that will make it not work. I'll come to the detailed answers. Once again, we have our past to guide us. The first question we should be asking is that what do we seek to achieve with the committee? Look, the committee has its own advantages, okay, over the Commission of Inquiry. Just as a Commission of Inquiry also has its own advantages over a committee, depending on what you want to find. Look, Mahamudu and Akapo, it's clear to me that this particular case, we want to see prosecution of those policemen. So if you want to see a prosecution of those policemen, I think we should go with the committee, because people will come and give evidence there of their own volition, okay? And then subsequently, we will have the prosecution with our arguments that when you allow somebody to come before a commission of inquiry and he finishes giving you his evidence, you can't turn around and use that evidence against him. Do you remember the case of Kojon Pieni and the others, the Ghana at 50 Commission report?
Yes.
When it went to court, when it went to court, Justice Murphy found now in the Supreme Court ruled that the state was going to rely on the same evidence that these accused persons had given at the commission, and that the law would not allow it. It's not straight. You see, when you read the law, it says that the police can, the Attorney General can prosecute if they have any other evidence, independent evidence, okay? Yes, that's the law, but it appeared the guy took the position. Yes, he was seized of the matter. He knew, he understood the case more than those of us outside. From what he saw, his opinion was that the evidence he was seeing was what the accused persons had given at the commission. That's why he stopped it. As I said, I'm not in a position to challenge that because that time I wasn't near the case. But the point I'm making is that, so those are some of the dangers you face if you keep clamoring for commission of inquiries. Don't think that another judge will not look at this case and say, oh, this evidence resembles what was given at the commission of inquiry, and so I'll stop the trial. So let's be very clear. And to be very clear, from what I have seen, these soldiers must face the law. That's a criminal prosecution. So if you want a criminal prosecution, for me, I think this committee of inquiry will not hinder a criminal prosecution because the issues of immunity will not come up. Because here, anybody who comes there is coming there voluntarily. So tomorrow, that person, in case there's a criminal prosecution, that person cannot be held to say, oh, I came and gave some voluntary evidence and now you are prosecuting me. No, he cannot be held. But if you were to do the commission of inquiry, then it means that that argument, Kojon Pienim and others versus the Republic versus Kojon Pienim and others, that argument can be made. And you know, when you are going to court, you can never guarantee your outcome. And so, for me, I think that let's be very clear that, look, we want a criminal prosecution in this case, even though the committee is here to sit and determine the matters. But we are also citizens. We've seen pictures, okay? We've seen the video footage, and we think that, look, this thing, we must have a criminal prosecution. Now we're standing that the committee is going to sit, okay?
All right.
And if that is so, I mean, really, there is no, I would go for the committee instead of the commission of inquiry.
Okay, so gentlemen, we're not done discussing Nigeria, and then this video of WA and some military officers assaulting civilians pops up. We know from the military, there's a statement that they've issued, and I'm going to be reading that to you and our viewers, but we also understand that there's a delegation, including the Chief of Army Staff, who will be in WAD this morning to apologize to the people, essentially to calm matters down and then begin an investigation and punishing officers who are found to have committed, what we see in the shots. If you're watching television, we're playing back that video again to you. But this is what the army has said. The attention of the military high command has been drawn to a video which has gone viral. In this video, some soldiers based in Wa, the regional capital of the Upper West region, are seen molesting civilians in the city without any provocation. This unprofessional conduct took place on Thursday, 1st July 2021, and at a time when the commanding officer of the soldiers and the chairman of the Regional Security Council were both out of town on official engagements. Internal disciplinary measures have been instituted to deal with all those who will be found culpable in this unprofessional conduct by the soldiers. In view of the seriousness of the matter, the Chief of the Army Staff is leading a high-powered military delegation to WA to meet the traditional and opinion leaders to find an amicable way of resolving this unfortunate incident. The delegation will also explore means to assuage the anger of the people and promote good neighborliness. The Ghana Armed Forces once again wishes to assure the people of WA and the general public that their safety is paramount at all times. As such, would not condone any unprofessional conduct by any member of the force. Mr. Bombandi, this upsets me. The fact that military officers did this to civilians. What's your interpretation, what's your reading of what has happened?
Well, first of all, I advocate always that victims should be at the center of criminal justice. And so, in a way, I would begin by trying to appreciate the path that the military high command is taking to try and connect with the elders and community leaders of the people of WA and to begin to make right what has been violated in terms of the abuse of innocent civilians. And to that extent, one would want to present the argument beginning from that point. But I must quickly add my good sister. And this goes in line with what a lawyer, Martin Kwegbu, has been presenting. The military get away with impunity, and so they will continue to be indisciplined and unprofessional, as we saw them beating people in the Upper West regional capital, Wa. I say this because when Ghanaians were horrified to see the military shoot on civilians in Techiman South, the military said they were going to investigate and deal with the circumstances that led to the killing of innocent, or let me put it, Ghanaians who were agitating around issues related to elections. What happened to their own actions of internal investigations? And so one would immediately concede that whatever they decide to do, the public has the right to know the internal disciplinary measures they will take. And not just to say it is going to be internal and they have taken actions against the perpetrators of these abuses and it ends there. Ghanaians would have a right to know what exactly happened. But over and above that, the military need to bring back professionalism and discipline in the operations of the Ghana Armed Forces. And this they need to do comprehensively. They need to reset the clock and make their men and women understand their roles as an armed forces and take away the pervasive brutality that has always been an image of the army. And when people thought that was put backwards, we then see it recurring. And for them to do this, they have to interrogate themselves with a very important question. why is there such an environment that is pervasive of violence and the use of violence each time there is an incident that requires to be taken care of? Why is there a climate that makes people to love using violence, particularly as a professional agencies in trying to resolve issues? And I think that's where we need to take the argument from, so that the responsibility is both the discipline of the individuals who are perpetrators, but also collective in ensuring that we have a military that serves the purposes of deepening and consolidating Ghana's democratic practice, and not what we have seen, which was so unfortunate yesterday in Wa.
Okay, yeah. so Mr. Bombandi, and I'll address this question to both of you, Mr. Bombandi for starters, and then Mr. Kwebu subsequently. Now that, Mr. Bombandi, you speak of the role of the military, I want to cite two concerns and find out whether we're getting something wrong. We heard Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, who is actually a former Chief of Defense Staff, saying that, and I'm quoting him here, "A soldier's job is not to disperse the crowd. I've never learned how to disperse a crowd. It's not my job. They, that is the soldiers, are paid to shoot, not in the air, but at the chest, where it's mostly going to cause death." That is what he is quoted to have said. Then we have the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, which on Wednesday came out with their statement saying that Ghana, our government, ought to look at involving the military in crowd control in terms of internal security operations, that they shouldn't be involved, more or less. So my question to both of you, starting with you, Mr. Bombandi, are we getting it wrong, these joint task forces and involving the military with the police when it comes to crowd control? And what do we do?
First of all, I want to agree with the observations that have been made, the statements that have been made, that we should not be involving the military in policing duties. The military should not be seen trying to engage in matters of crowd control and the other incidences that have occurred to bring us into the type of conversation that we're having this morning. I'll, however, admit that on specialized duties, for example, in the organization of elections, because the number of men and women in the Ghana Police Service would often be insufficient, you want joint operations that brings in the other security agencies to participate, but always with the understanding that it is the police that has the command, and that the other agencies, particularly the military, submit themselves to the command and rules of procedure, operating procedures of the police. But this would be very rare in my view. Another example would be when the level of crime becomes elevated to the point that the police alone are struggling to bring down the incidences of crime. You might want to have a specialized operation that brings in the army to play a role, but again, strictly under the directions of the police. But in the overall, I totally agree that we should have less of the army involved with civilians in managing what we are describing generally as, whether it is crowd control, whether it is curbing crime, and you name it. And if you then refer to the observation of General Nunu Mensah, it's basically to say that the military belong to the barracks, and their duties are to ensure that the territorial integrity of Ghana is well preserved and well defended. And when they are brought into activity, it is for those types of serious matters, but not to engage with the civilians as we saw in the incidents of Ejura. And let me quickly end here that if you watch, at least from the videos that I saw in Ejura, the police were managing the situation until the military started jumping out of their pickups. In other words, you had policing going on. I'm not saying that the police have succeeded in dealing with the situation, but those numbers were not numbers to worry about. It was when the military started intervening that we then saw the shootings that then led to the killings of these two people. That should tell us a lot. It should tell us that we should not be engaging the military in such crowd control.
Okay. Mr. Pebble, let me take you back to, is there anything in the military's own code of conduct or anything, you're a lawyer, help us, that says that if they suspect that somebody has stolen a property of theirs, they can organize themselves from their barracks as it happened in this situation and come back on the streets and confront civilians and punish them and assault them?
No, Mamazi, not that I'm aware of. At least I've read a bit, you know, the Armed Forces Act, and then they have the code. It doesn't allow them. The military also live under the same law. The same constitution governs all of us, okay? So there's nothing that allows them to do what they've done. It's just the impunity that has been going on over all these decades. That is what is manifesting in what they did.
Yeah, but Mr. Pebble, this is 2021, and this is not a military leadership that we have. It's a democratic dispensation. We are not under military rule here.
Yeah, Mama, I couldn't agree more. You're perfectly right. And yet there's that impunity because, you know, there's this subculture that even Ghanaians, some of our own people, anything that happens, they listen, they say, oh, we want you to bring in the soldiers. Bring in the soldiers to discipline them. Will you believe that people still think that way today? People have no regard for the rule of law. They'll tell you that, oh, bring in the military. As for soldier will come and brutalize them. You know, because often the court system, you know, takes some time. People don't understand how the courts work, and they are often very interested in instant justice. You know, instant justice is very rife in our culture. We kind of like it, okay? That's what feeds into allowing the military to do what they do. Because some people like it. This video you've seen, so I've heard some people saying that, yes, that's how it is. Because when you go to court, it takes forever. People fail to appreciate that the rule of law requires that there should be due process. And so you cannot just go to court and within a week you're finished. No, there are processes. So Mama V comes back to the point that you have to do more education. More education. As long as we have this high rate of illiteracy in Ghana, these soldiers will have room to operate because some people like what they do. They say, yes, that's justice. As for soldiers, when you bring them, they will brutalize you and everything will become quiet. You say, yes. So looking at it, from what I see in this picture, I pray that the authorities will identify the soldiers and have them prosecuted because in law, it's allowed. They are prosecuted. I mean, in the civilian court, they can be prosecuted. That's separate from the court martial.
Mr. Kwebu, does that also reflect the caliber of people we're getting into the military and the police, for example? Is it reflective? Because this obviously breaches the standard protocols of what the military officers should be doing. Does that also point to the caliber of people we're getting into our armed forces?
Definitely. Definitely. You know, in every society.
Well, there appears to be a bit of a challenge there with Mr. Kwebu, you know, his connection. But Mr. Bombandi, just to come in. Okay, so Kwebu, were you responding? We've lost Mr. Kwebu. So, Mr. Bombandi, very quickly, on that same beat, maybe I'll just rehash the question to you as well. Does it point to certain flaws in terms of recruitment? And going even further, there is a release on, of course, Republic Day by Kofi Totobi-Kwache, who used to be a Minister for National Security. He says, and I'm quoting here so you can react to it, the administration, that is this administration, appears to be walking through a minefield with blinders on. It must overcome this political myopia and see the risks and stakes for how high they are. The Akufo-Addo government must start to show genuine empathy and concern for the frustrations of the youth and engage them in more serious and sincere ways. Do you see that we're treading this sort of minefield, and is the reaction not enough? Does it not suffice? So, two questions boxed into one.
I have read the statement of Mr. Totobi Kwachi, and I totally share in his views. And let me bring into the conversation an example that is currently happening. I want probably your viewers who do not follow the international dimensions of peace and security, if they have the time, to look at what is happening in Colombia. In Colombia, the young people decided to insist on similar grounds of fix the country. And the initial reaction of the government of Colombia was to shut them out and to try to repress them. They literally shut down the whole country. But in the past 2 weeks, what the government of Colombia has done is to open up a meaningful dialogue with the youth. And things have started changing to the extent that it is the youth now helping to determine what areas of priority should be immediate in terms of governance. And without going into those details, one of your questions related to the professionalism and the role of our military. Keep in mind that it is this same Ghana Armed Forces that serves in international peacekeeping duties with a lot of respect in their conduct. And I'm not just saying it because I read it. I've seen them in the field of some peacekeeping theaters of operation. And I've appreciated, just like I've listened to people appreciate their role. Now, that same Ghana Armed Forces cannot be respected in peacekeeping duties outside, and back in their own country, they continue with the wayward attitude of the abuse of the rights of civilians. So there is something that is definitely wrong. And that is why it begins with the environment, with the climate in which the armed forces operates when they are home here in Ghana. And all the discussions in the past, including the observations of Mr. Totobi Kwachi and the questions that you have been framing, all of them become relevant. From how you recruit, how you train, how you ensure discipline, the hierarchy in terms of respect in the chain of command, and how the military is made to understand that you submit always to civilian rule in a democratic state, and you do not take the law in your own hands. All these become part of a comprehensive package that needs to constantly be visited. And to do that, training must be happening regularly. It does not mean after training that will be the end. They need to be trained and retrained. They need to be trained in the respect for human rights, the rule of law, and how to operate in a democratic state. If all these continue to be enhanced, it helps a lot. But in the generality, the pervasive environment that I have made reference to, we should all keep in mind that at the end of the day, the democratic republic that we all want and that we all enjoy, yes, it's what we all aspire. We want to consolidate, we want to deepen, but it also comes with responsibilities. It comes with hard work, and therefore political decision making and how the peace, the unity, and the stability of the country is constantly in the forefront in all our activities, particularly for those who have had the privilege to serve, whether currently or in the past, becomes very important. In other words, my main point is, how do we see a collective duty in our political space that now makes it possible for the contributions that make Ghana a respected democratic state to happen? When you have a situation in which our polarization overwhelmingly becomes the norm rather than the exception, then people feel that when they are in discipline, they would be able to be protected simply because the environment and the dynamics of politics favors the protection of a few miscreants because they want to believe that they are associated with a political dispensation. That accelerates unprofessionalism, and it makes it very difficult for the consolidation of democracy to take place. Now, if things go then beyond unmanageable levels, then we would all be regretting very deeply and asking ourselves, where were we? How did we allow this to happen? And that is why this is a serious matter, and it therefore must be responded to at the level to which it deserves seriousness in terms of bringing back confidence into the people and ensuring that we no longer begin to see some of these incidences.
Well, wrap up comments, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Mr. Kwebu, on so far some of... Oh, Kwebu is still not with us. Well, we were not able to get back to him. We would have been joined as well by Professor Enning, but unfortunately, it appears the lines are not aiding us. So maybe then we'll wrap up with your comments, Bamavi, if you don't have anything other dimensions to look at when it comes to
Mr. Bombandi, we thank you for your time. I guess we wait to see what happens with this high-powered delegation that has been sent to WA to first of all apologize, and then I guess we look forward to investigations. I just wanted to ask, just before you leave though, if a civilian is being brutalized, who do you report it to?
If a civilian is being brutalized, you mean by the military?
By the military.
By the military, just as we've seen happen in WA. Where do you run for help?
Yeah, the recourse to the civilian is to report to the police. But then the question then is, how does the police engage with the military when the brutality or when the perpetration is coming from the military? And that is why we have the military police. And the military police are supposed to discipline their own military. And so the connection then would be that the issue will be taken up at the level of the military, and that it will get to the level of the military police, effecting the type of criminal justice that we want. But it's probably more complicated than the way I have explained it. But whichever way we want to look at it, Lawyer Kwebu has underscored the importance of prosecution, which basically says individuals cannot hide from any institution and continue to reinforce impunity. And that it's precisely because of impunity that people have the audacity to repeatedly commit the same crimes. And that if at the end of the day, the military can be made to understand that from the uniforms you wear to the boots that protect your feet to everything about your life is from the taxpayers' money. And you cannot turn on those civilians who pay taxes and those civilians who maintain you to brutalize you. It becomes part of the education. It becomes part of what I call bringing back the professionalism, but I also continuously add that environment in which the use of violence, the use of force has become so pervasive must end. And it must end with a type of discourse, that discourse in our politics, that discourse in leadership, particularly decision-making, being role models, and all of us being responsible. That sometimes you might be in a studio, in a media house, and you think you can speak with threats, and your language, which is verbal violence, becomes incendiary and provokes. And you think after your contribution, you walk home. But people take that and misread it, and it increases the climate of insecurity, the climate of violence.
Right.
So I look at it as a collective responsibility, but in the context of this morning's discussion, it is more in the military and the military hierarchy at the end of the day to conclude. When you ask, how do we go about it? They must show the will. Okay. They must show that they are prepared to discipline their own men and women, and that there will be a new military learning from these very unfortunate incidences.
And on that note, we thank you for your time, Mr. Bombandi. Thank you for joining this conversation and helping us with the analysis.
We're also grateful to Martin Kwebu, who also joined us. The connection dropped a while ago. And Professor Kwesi Enning, who attempted joining us, but owing to technical challenges, could not actually make it through.
All right, so Rafiq Salam is our correspondent in the Upper West region. He will be bringing us a lot more updates in terms of what's happening on the ground with the visit by the military. Right now, though, we have to turn our attention to one of the other local issues. So, the Greater Accra Regional Minister managed to relocate onion sellers largely from Agbogloshi to Ajinkotoku. You've heard Ajinkotoku. What kind of setup is there for the traders who have been relocated? Benjamin Akapo visited the area yesterday, and here's his report.
Look right in this direction, you would see heaps, piles of sacks of onion that is being offloaded. Many trucks have come through, and if you cast your eyes a bit further, you will see the sheds under which the onion sellers would actually be plying their trade. The stalls here number over 100 per my count, and this is where all the action is. This is where they are supposed to move. But there are some underlying concerns. Security, for example. There is the Ajinkotoku police station, which is just a stone's throw from here. I was interacting earlier with the commander who pleaded anonymity. He didn't want to be live on television, but he says they are doing their best to ensure that everything goes on smoothly here. But on the ground of security, some onion sellers have shared with me that they are afraid that at night there might be people, nefarious characters who might come and take their wares. And one of them actually said that if that should happen, if they are not given police patrols at night, they may be forced to take the law into their own hands. They've also asked that there be fire service operations close to them in the eventuality of any fire. And finally, that they need financial services, maybe a bank or other financial institutions, to be brought closer to this place so that they can actually deposit their money and also avert any robberies. But there are more issues and many more people who have been affected. I'm going to engage some of them now who will come and share their stories. Morning. You're saying?
Morning.
Of what's going na Dana or was what on Jane and be.
Patch that be make mobile phones on America. By the tree out to Yafia, baby, not Matana. Mako Assembly.
Now was over Gubulushi. Baby, I yes, move free, and now was over.
Mako Assembly or Amasama. The last time before I'm catch them say, and you already say already on. Usika ready, no much baby. I'm a different story, over so different story.
Usika ready for them.
Our baby, I'll bet I will Juma. No much Assembly, some catch them. Out to night and TBBR. The birth and a Pamaqua answer, baby. Me content basic component, Minya.
Into a container, what they are about here.
Men because still me, I mean, funny place I'm the basic. Into a program Casapan, to Mr. Banner say, Oma, I didn't know according to Obiana and the share. I say, I go one side of
mobile phones. Now, once a Jenny for Oma, you for neighbor.
Wouldn't some a market there, wouldn't me a market for including Jenny Fonqua. Into me possible. For example, Jenny Fonqua, so come then and also PDB a Janedia. Obako fa so ntimi ya market say e be agenda from kwa and ntimi ya possible so any marketing na aka na marketing dey etu empon and as for example so before I say ya obe dey na e wafo bi ntini na aka na marketing dey etu empon until to nyame place ntimi say o ma no so mensan come there.
So he is not an onion seller, but he works with mobile phones. He sells mobile phones, and he says that they, are part of that community, the onion sellers, as they were in Agbogloshi. You can't have onion sellers alone. There will be people who will be trading, who will be performing other activities in the midst of them, and that is his situation. And he says that as they have been moved here, they've also followed through because they cannot remain in Agbogloshi. But the problem is that no provisions have been made for people like him. And he is pleading that something be done about the situation. Whatever they have to pay, they are willing to pay to ensure that they can get some space here in Ajinkotoku at this location and then continue with their trade. There are others who will be speaking to us.
Agbogloshi and omutu ye yamasu school say ye ni dwuma bia ye yenti aban boy and yenso nya dabrewa ye fa pe ya no duane fa hwankola no
Enti wo pa say now wo chichiri jene enti omo de ba omo tu de ba now so wajibi now wo chichiri
patron san
wo de wuntu
debi me ko fa na ma chichiri usua wa ba ise he na wo san 2 year de isi eni baby akobi bifu caffeine san to de ko kwa unya hwe lori fe kura unya e fa manti ye bre aban boy ye ne so nya da
wo say no dan pote na mo pe jene ton for no omo mutu every amai baha no omo de say omo mra ha na mo nso e enti dan na mo hwehwe
eso insan ho no ye ni market wo ho enti yesu ye fu kan ma che kwa akra na ya kofa bi ni ya chichiri wo chichiri so abai si hey ino mo san 2 ye die ye bre pa ye maso skupa ye bre
yeah, that's it. Say wone atwetwe enkomo. And you can see also in your shot the police commander and some members of the police service who are also here to ensure that things go well. It remains critical here because the onion sellers are bringing their wares here and they need to be sure, they need some certainty that the products they are bringing, their wares, will actually be secure. We're joined by some more of the onion sellers. Now, what on Jene Wagbulushi Hono Ate?
Ake. About 22 years now.
22 years?
Yes.
And yes, Mumra Hano, who is saying?
Me ba hana dia. Nti ya hana dia fine nti agima wo hono mu ye. Nti agima kakra ni na da se na mo yan fele ye. Nti me force aban no force mbra. Mo ye agima na mama gene for. No mo ye ba bi ye den. Mo trans no mo dige na dwa. Jani na mo bae no o se hwe from ni na ho side thing na da ho bus o mo yanye ya tiken kere gene for bae ntemi force anene kena no mba ya kama ma gene for ti sase ne dey fine very very good fine pa ma gene for mo ninge nti dey ka o ba ya gima na man se on force no ma on se gene for mo pension no ma lebe no mo ya patane fast na ma gene for no mo tra
nsuo wa hakakra na
and so from na on say down na dia mo yan fele wie ye nsuo wom bon nti mi force nti ani na on say shekire ni na e bush no mo ba fele ni na ma gene for no mo ye apata ni na ko fast le gene for mo trans no mo siagwa o shamba ni na mo wa on say mo nam o mo nim ba bia no mo ye den mo trans aban no so on force no ba ye toilet ma gene for obi ba na pa obi ko toilet oba no unse toilet bianim unse bia fie unti be ko toilet wo yes mo force no mo ye toilet ma gene for no mo ninge
na eba security nso a ISM and also ISM kakra and also attention ne say
security for na dia mo na mo ha bebre mo na mo ha
na mo nim say te sa na ajo sen na mo be
anajo na dia security for na say mo be 30 na ma gene o mo ye gima ma gene for dia mo pe
Tia hone Ajinkotoku police station for na twetwe nkomo.
Yes, mo no anura no ina mo de nkomo wa ha. Ntana pa so mo san ba ha na mo wa ha ni na.
And so for him what he is saying is that the land is a bit waterlogged and that he wants it to be filled properly, that there are bushes around that ought to be cleared, and that of course onions cannot thrive in places where there is water, and so they want those situations dealt with. They say they don't have toilet facilities here. You know, at Enagbogloshi they actually had toilet facilities, a mosque, showers, places where they could attend to their daily business, because a lot of them also happen to be Muslim. So they are asking for government to complete the sheds and ensure that they have the requisite facilities to make life easy for them as they transition to Ajinkotoku. Let's go on and interact with a few more people.
Minister say yambaha yadana sepa yaba yehu asasene so aya fine na embom so yebehu asasene. In fact, on we yaba no kura yige so omoda so adwuma na wo hwe a yige na omoda so adwuma na ebia on betima ye na adu etu eyere ebo bi tiri unhu nti ye da na ye pane cho se on be ye ayi no ntem enwie maye na yaba hanom so ye nyina yamba ha
apata no omuwie ne ntem
maye ensa ye nyina yamba efiri mande ko no mo afo babire baba ha onim se go se ye wo no ye do so Yakobe 200,000 to something ago. Enti hano umbe wie maya ntemtema abe ye maya. Enye sa ohun se apatana mo ye juma na mo bo pato ho enye fine. Na emom so ye toilet ye ba hano toilet de ebe ha ye pa ye ni toilet wa ha ebe ye wa ha enti ye ba no ye
ansa na anhwa aban be ye ho bibi no mo nso mo betimi aboa mo ho ano no maka se mu si bibi ana mo adwentwe ne se
enti ye ba ha no mandi no na minister no ye kan ye se o mayan fayan gemba im kakra nti o se o mayan kwan eye den enkasa
o se o mama kwan enkasa
mandi no sa na o kan
enti musika se mo nso no mo be ye ne sen se si a se bank bi an shedam bem wa hat se na agbogoloshi
no de
no enti sen na mo be ye ho
ya kasa ye e na mo se stores we bi o mo di bi be ma bank for no na mo be ben ye wa ha sa na mo kan ye.
Yeah, that's another onion seller. He's also been in the business for a while, and he says, of course, they need the sheds to be completed quickly enough so they can actually place the products there. He also spoke about the toilet facilities, among others, and he's saying that as far as the banking or the financial end of things is concerned, they've been given some assurances that some of the stalls will be given to financial institutions to ensure that they can continue doing business.
The thing is that we have so many challenges here.
What are some of those challenges?
Yeah, the land they have declared, they have shown us the land, but they haven't cleared all the land, and we are facing those challenges. Not all our people are getting a place. Look at this place going to the study building. All those land, they said they will clear it, but they haven't cleared it. And that side, they said they'll clear the car park, they haven't cleared it. And most of our people come here, not all of them have shirts, they are even fighting. But we, the leaders, are making cool, begging them that the minister will come and clear it. And our share, the contractor they're giving to do the share, he said we shouldn't go inside. Can't you see that we are on the roadside selling? We're supposed to go in.
So the sheds are not ready?
The sheds are not ready. And we are seriously on it because we have to be there and sell it, not the road. But he's giving us a shot, we should be on the road, we shouldn't go in because he's not even done his work yet. The toilet facilities, but we have been talking already, it's important. And our very important is the cleaning of the place because we are plenty. We are plenty because mostly we used to remove, if not the onion, we used to remove like 40, 50 cars a day. And where is car park? They have given a shot that you clear all the place for them to park the cars, and now you don't know what is going on. And we are just, can't you see that everybody standing like an army man? Because there's no shelter, there's no sitting place. We are sitting, standing, and be silent. After that, we go. Yesterday, we stand out for 12 hours before we left.
But you are now starting, at least there's a place here where you can...
Because of the rain, all of us cannot go inside here. Look at we those on the road. We are plenty more than those who are inside. So we are begging the regional minister to put effort on us and come and put effort and do it for us because we have come here, we have crowded. Can you look at the roadside? If car come now, you won't get a place to park. So we are begging. The place is nice. It's nice.
But do you think this place will be good for business?
Oh, it's good. We have seen it's good. We appreciate him for that. It's okay. But they should do it for us nicely.
Okay.
As he started, he should complete it like that for us. Okay. We congratulated him.
We thank to the regional minister for creating this market for us. Really, when we came here and saw the place, it's very nice. But one thing is that the work is not yet completed. That is the challenges that we are facing. I think, especially for the toilet facilities, which is very, very important. We have none here, and the car park too. It's because we just came. Most of us, we didn't order for our goods. That is why you came. You can see a lot of onions in the market. But once we are here, I think most of us, our goods are on the way coming. So if those goods comes, here will be congested. So you have to try so that we'll be able to get a car park for us, so that if our car comes, we can stand there and offload our goods for our customers.
Mpacho ya danase kuma for ya ba ya moje wawa tu se ye no mo betima aye gima na MP nso minister nso ya danase se omaye akunya se ye mra ye ni age nti ade ye hia ne se ade no onwie eno na ai haye pa but the important say ye na bia na ye haye pa say ye kra ye ba na ye nkitue bi na ye wa hanum ye ba hanum a no bi na yem kan kra na obetuma ko bi fikire na kwa jana na wo honum na ko fa asem bebre ayede aba nti ye sire no onka no ho no ye sa ne ma ntem ayede amaye ano no betuma ebua ye ne bank for no omomfa kwan ya betuma fa so ama bank for no ye den embe ne ye security for no omoye tight e wa hanum because ye ba hanum no agugurisa na ye wona ye nim ya ho but hanum aye ba ye no ebeye manfra na wonum ntumomma security na enye tight maye ne bank no ho asem ne ye gen na ebia eno no kra ye muslim for na ye wa hanum kra no omoma ye ba ko onum but ye ko onum no kra ebinim ekose wo honum pa ama omubu afu omatum oma jana ebia adan no ntisi akra ye wonum no ebinim enim ba bia ombeko eno aye important say eno no omombrantem omonsase na yehu say enkumafo no embema bata ye no mountain eba because wo ko jawo nan awo ba bi enye efan a omo be complete nti asama ewo mano a metuma kan say omboye ewo sa ne mano.
So these are the interactions we've had with those here who have been asked to relocate. A rehashing of the issues basically that they've already raised. They need financial services here as they get the sort of large sums of money that they actually get at the end of every day. They need some security, somewhere to actually place these sums of money, deposit them. And they also need security in terms of, especially at night, to prevent any people from coming to take their wares. And they have also said that they need a place where they can relieve themselves when nature calls. As of now, there is no such facility here. So only God knows where they would have to go should nature call. These are some of the concerns of the people who have moved here, but they are satisfied with this location. They say it is a good one, though there is some water issues here in terms of the land itself being slightly waterlogged, what they have told me. And they are asking that the sheds also be completed quickly so that they can, all of them, come and start business proper. From right here in Ajinkotoku, Benjamin Akako for JoyNews.